Welcome back to the GSMC Golf Podcast, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We're back with our fifth and final segment of the night, talking about Cameron Young's meltdown on Sunday, kind of. This guy really had a great chance. He ended up 2 back of the lead at 16 under a T6 here. Or, sorry, he was 3 back of the lead. I apologize. But coming in on Sunday, he was 1 back. Yes, I believe he was 1 back of Akshay Bhatia, who held the lead at 17 under. And for Cameron Young, he was in the penultimate pairing here on Sunday. And it just, despite the scorecard, it was a meltdown, and he still had a chance. Like, truly, on 14, he had a great chance, but he cracks his driver on 14, and it hurts him so badly. On 18, he gets a bogey. I think he also gets a bogey on 16, in part because of a cracked driver. If he has his driver on 16 and 18, first off, a 260-yard tee shot that goes into a bunker on the hardest hole of the golf course of the day is not what you want to see, and it did make it very difficult for him to get a good result on that hole. But for him, leading up to that 14th tee box where he does crack his driver, it's not that bad of a day. Hole 1 sends his driver to the left rough. Hole 2 sends his driver to the left rough. Hole 3 sends his driver to the left rough. Hole 4 gets it in the fairway, but it's on the left side of the fairway. Hole 5, it's a par 3 that he ends up in the rough somehow. Hole 6, left rough. Hole 7 in the fairway. Hole 8, almost right rough. Hole 9 is a par 3. Hole 10 in the fairway. Hole 11, left bunker, but it's on a par 3. Hole 12, right rough. Hole 13, left rough. Hole 14, left rough. Only hitting like 2 fairways all day is absolutely brutal. Not what you want to see. If you're trying to change, like, he really had a chance today. If he goes out there, 18 under was the 18 under won this tournament. He ends up at 15 under with his by far the worst round of the entire weekend. Gets a 73 on Sunday. If he gets a 70, he's in a playoff. If he gets a 69, which still would have been his worst round of the entire weekend, he still wins the tournament. Cameron Young fails to win another tournament is the storyline, or is that, headed storyline here. This guy has come a runner-up in, 7-8 tournaments since he turned pro in 2021? When did he turn pro? In 2019 is when he turned pro. He has 1 runner-up this year. 2022, 2023, he had 1 runner-up. 2021, 2022, he had 5. He had 5 runner-ups in 2022. Was T2 at Sanderson Farms. Was T2 at the Genesis. Was T3 at the RBC Heritage. T2 at the Wells Fargo Championship. T3 at the PGA Championship. Second at the Open Championship. Solo second at the Open Championship. T2 at the Rocket Mortgage. This is his second T2 in this tournament. This guy is known as the best player on tour without a win, and in the last 3 years alone, he has 7 runner-ups. That is absolutely brutal, and he has a bunch of thirds as well. He has a third at the Hero Road Challenge to make his third in the last 3 years, and a second at the World Golf Championship, which is a match play tournament, so hey, not too bad to get a second there, but man, always competing is kind of Cameron Young. He skipped out on the Rocket Mortgage Classic last year, but a T6 and a T8 at the John Deere and the Open Championship during this kind of part of the season. Man, for Cameron Young, what does this guy have to do? Does he have to buy a win? That's what it's looking like. He got a second place at the Valspar Championship and then ends up with a T6 at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. That's tough. he's going to win one eventually, right? He will win one eventually, but for such a great golfer, man, Cameron Young is always kind of up there on the leaderboards, on the scoreboards. He is the 22nd golfer in the official world golf rankings. He's 30th right now in the FedEx Cup Championship. Like, he puts himself in contention, man, and that's all you really can do. Looking around him at the other guys that are kind of within his name at the FedEx Cup Championship. You got right above you JT Poston and Jason Day and Max Homa. Right below you is Taylor Pendrith, Adam Hadwin, Siwoo Kim. All big names. Matt Fitzpatrick is 35th, Keegan Bradley 36th. All big names here on the PGA Tour. He's a fantastic golfer. He just can't win one. He is the best golfer in the world, probably, without a professional win. It's gonna come, right? It's gonna come, and it's gonna feel so good for Cameron Young, but just a blow up here, and he still had a chance, right? Like throughout the weekend, and looking at his scorecards from the Rocket Mortgage Classic, he played fantastic on the back nine. Birdie on 17, birdie on 17, birdie on 16. He played the back nine 4 under through the first 3 rounds, and then goes bogey to really just eliminate him from contention. If he just pars that, he's tied 2 again. And if he finds another, here's the tough thing. He pars 7 and pars 14, which are the 2 easiest holes on the golf course from the weekend on round 4. In round 3, he birdies them. Round 2, he birdie 7 and 14. And round 1, he birdie eagle 7 and 14. He plays those 2 holes 7 under in the first 3 rounds, and then goes even on them in the in round 4. And I think to him, when he absolutely hooks his driver to the left rough on hole 14th, and when he cracks his driver, takes it out to play for the rest of the day, it's just him understanding that this isn't his tournament. Like, he just always comes so close. On Golf Digest, they did a story about it, and in their article, it says Young is one of the best players on the PGA Tour without a victory, and the cracked driver came amid his latest chance to erase that distinction. Young was 17 under and 1 back on 14, and despite his drive, he still made par on the hole. Though he made an eagle and 2 birdies in his previous round, so par is arguably a step back. With his driver unavailable, he made bogey on 16, but then hit 2 straight 3-woods to the green on the par 5 17th and settled for par. Trailing by 2 shots, though, with 5 players ahead of him, it's likely a case of too little, too late. They wrote that story while, everything was going on Sunday. It's just tough, man. It's tough. You can't let your emotions get the best of you on the PGA Tour, and he kind of does in that moment, and that's kind of what led to him not winning again on tour. So we'll see if he can break through here in the upcoming weeks. I believe he did pull his name out from the John Deere Classic, so that distinction's gonna go on for another week. But with that all being said, that'll wrap it up for this Tuesday edition of the GSMC Golf Podcast. When I come back for the GSMC Podcast on Thursday, I will give you guys a heads up that will be a pre-recorded show, as it is the 4th of July. I will be doing pre-recorded shows for both of my Thursday and Friday podcasts this week. I'll also remind you guys again on Wednesday that is the case. So it won't be a live stream show on Thursday, but I will be back next Tuesday after the John Deere Classic to be back live. So a little bit change up in my usual streaming setup. I will still have a show pre-recorded and live, and it will be premiering at the same time at 8:30 Central Time on Thursday, but I will not be able to interact with the chat like I am usually. So with that being said, it'll wrap it up for this Tuesday edition of the GSMC Golf Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. All your support means so much to us at the GSMC Sports Network. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, and also rate us on whatever you are listening to the podcast on, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And also, as always, if you want to get more content and updates from the GSMC Sports Network, you can follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram at the GSMC Sports Network. Thank you all again for your support, and thank you all for tuning into the GSMC Golf Podcast. All of you guys have a fantastic and wonderful evening.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel